finding time to come to the meeting when all those people did not. No, I'm just kidding. Glad you're here. I'm going to welcome Jim Justice to do our devotion this morning. And then I'm going to come back and do another little welcome for our speakers. Awesome. So on to Jim. Jim, is your thing on yet?
So it is on there now. It's kind of exciting. There's more employees than parents here.
I know, that's what I said.
So thanks for coming. If I've not met you, I'm Jim Justice, and I probably have what I think is the most fun job here because I get to go across all three divisions, and it's pretty exciting to see how much goes on here in one day. If you're on Instagram, you can follow me on Be Happy, Be Nice, Go Cats, and you can get a little glimpse of all that. I want to start with a little video of something I'm super, super proud of. Can you make that play? Don't give them the lights.
One second. We had it working, so it will work now. Sure.
Well, you know what? I may not wait for it. Here's what it does and what I was so proud of.
Oh, there you go. You hit the button.
It rolls around in a circle.
Hit the play button. Hit the little thingy on the left. There we go.
There you go.
Perfect.
Okay, now truth be told, this is a Lego Mindstorm EV3 robot. It was built. The robot was actually built by 5th graders and in the design thinking lab, and I was in there, and they actually taught me a little bit about how to code it. And so all I did was drop a few little blocks in and a little bit of sound to make it go in a circle. But I got super interested in these Lego Mindstorm things, and I started to do a little research on how they kind of came to be because we just didn't have them when I was a kid. And it turns out that they grew out of a project at the MIT Media Lab. And you know, I had the chance to go there this summer. It was kind of amazing. The MIT Media Lab has 26 research groups, and they're kind of interesting, and they're working on all sorts of problems, and from, you know, prosthetics to cities of the future and transportation and cars that drive themselves. And the whole premise is to bring people from different disciplines into one room, as opposed to sort of doing research in your siloed discipline. And they actually refer to this not as interdisciplinary, but as anti-disciplinary. So here we are in the MIT Media Lab's Lifelong Kindergarten Group. And that's where the Mindstorm product was researched and ultimately developed and then brought to market by Lego. So I got so interested in this. It's like, well, how did they ever come up with this idea? And it grew out of a guy named Seymour Papert. And in 1980, he wrote a book called Mindstorms, Children, Computers, and Powerful Ideas. And he was one of the founding directors of MIT's Media Lab, and particularly of the Lifelong Kindergarten Group. He had a protege named Mitch Resnick. And they really sort of imagined a world of learning for children and adults that really wasn't very different and had 4 really important components. The first one was projects. So they really believed that rather than rote memorization, giving people projects to work on and problems to solve was where real learning started to happen and where creative thinking was nurtured. And then they said, well, you don't do it alone. You really need lots and lots of people with lots and lots of perspectives. And so they imagined that being with peers was a really important part of nurturing creativity. And then they said, well, you just don't work on things you're not interested in. And so they said, well, passion is really, really critical toward ideas that are going to propel the world forward. And the final thing that they said was that the secret ingredient, my favorite actually, was play. And they really talked about play being both carefree but hard play. Or as my friend Julia Myrick in the Design Thinking Lab likes to say, rigorous whimsy. So, you know, I was kind of intimidated being in this MIT Media Lab, and it's MIT, and I'm an English major, and so then I began to think about the way it's actually not that different than what happens here. And there's our famous president, Keith Evans, learning a little something as well in our Design Thinking Lab with one of our youngest learners. this idea of projects and peers and passion and play, it's really what the entire lower school is based on and what we hope the whole school K through 12 is based on. Where does it all lead? Well, the amazing thing is we don't actually know entirely. We don't know where it leads, but we believe it leads to great things. And we believe it helps students unlock his or her fullest potential. I want to tell you a little story that happened to me recently. I was at the homecoming football game and ran into an alum from the class of '09 named Ben Bonder, and I taught him in 9th grade English. I'd been his grade chair. He was the most fidgety, energetic, wonderful, fun boy. He couldn't sit still, but he was super smart and super fun. And he was a great diver or swimmer on our swim team. And I said, Ben, what are you up to? And he's like, well, you know, I went to the Naval Academy, Mr. Justice, and I run the nuclear reactor on an attack sub. I was like, whoa. And he's like, and then he starts to keep on, and he's like, well, I have a few other jobs. And he's like, well, tell me about your other jobs. And he's like, well, you know, sometimes I drive the sub, and someone needs a break. I was like, whoa. I scuba dive. I was like, well, what does that mean? He's like, well, when we pull into port, I get in the water and I check the port to make sure there's no explosives. And when we pull out of port, I swim the whole boat, which is the length of a football field, to make sure there's no tracking device on us. Wow. Like, yeah, and I kind of lead the cybersecurity guys on the sub too. It's like, that's amazing. He's like, well, not really, because you know, we're really secretive, so we only like go up to satellite once every 3 months. It's like, oh, cool. So, you know, and at the end of it all, he says, well, you know, anyone could do it. And I was like, probably not anyone could do it. And so I said, yeah, come on over next week and let me kind of take you around and show you kind of some of the stuff we're doing. You'll recognize a lot of things, and a lot of it's new. So he comes over, and he's in his uniform, which is super cool, and we come up here. And I'm kind of showing him some of the new things, and he recognizes some things, and we're headed down my favorite hall, which is the first hall. And he looks over at a room and he's like, wow, that was my first grade classroom. I feel like that's really where it all started for me. And I said, well, we're going in. And so we walk in, and of course the kids are amazed, and he's in his uniform, and this is right before Veterans Day, so they're kind of prepped up, and they say, thank you for keeping us safe. And so I'm about to tear up, and there's his teacher from first grade still in that room, Miss Chapman. He says, I don't think she'll recognize me, but of course she does, and she gives him this great big hug. And it was this amazing moment to think about how projects and peers and passion and play started there and ended here. And we couldn't have known it. We couldn't have known what it was going to be, but we knew it was going to be something great. And the most amazing thing about Ben is his next deployment is to Italy, running multinational naval exercises for NATO. And he's 26 years old. And so the journey ahead, who knows? Who knows what lies ahead? He has most of his life yet ahead of him. So when I think about Ben, and I think about where it all started here, and I think about those things, projects and peers and passion and play, I think about the promise that resides in every single boy and girl here in Love and across the whole campus. And I think about the way that that promise and that potential meets those four things. We don't have any idea what's going to happen or where it's going to go, but we know it's going to be great, great things. And in that, it's the beauty of what happens here in Love, it's the beauty of what happens here all across campus, and that we're pursuing every day in partnership with you all, and we couldn't do it without you. And we thank you for that. Let us pray. Lord, we come together here from all corners of the city, from different stories and histories, from different faiths and ideas, but we come each a child of God, created in his image. Together we work, we play, and in that play our journey starts, a journey that has no end. Lord, still our hearts so that we might hear your call rather than the noise of the world, and hearing it, have the courage to follow. Amen.
not you yet.
Oops.
Oh,
Where do you want me?
right there.
Okay.
Uh-oh. Jim, I think you took my speech.
Well, I'll give it back to you.
Mine's the giant print. Thank you. Okay. Good morning, large crowd. Welcome back from a much-needed Thanksgiving break. Bad news is the Thanksgiving break is over. But the good news is that Christmas break is only 13 days away. Not that I would count anything like that, of course. I'm so incredibly thankful for so many things. First and foremost, my family. I'm very thankful my husband didn't disown me when I planned our Mexican getaway last week without asking him. Charged it on the credit card. It was great fun. And it wasn't actually a vacation, it was a trip because the kids were with us. Vacation is only when the kids are not there. But it was still relaxing. But I'm also thankful for the friends we have made in Westminster. I see a few of y'all. Thank you for coming again. And for the amazing faculty and staff, which is half the room. Thank you. And for the incredible education our children receive on a daily basis. A huge part of their education happens right here in this beautiful new library. Without the amazing dynamic duo of Ron and Debbie, or Batman and Robin, our children would not develop their love of reading. I started my Westminster journey right here in this very hallowed place. I would drive my little cart, although not very well. Hence, we might need the new shelves because I crashed into them many times. And I tried to keep my newly retired brain functioning. Although most of all, I wanted to learn about the ins and outs of our new school, since Robert was a pre-firster. The friendships I developed with Ron and Debbie were instantaneous, and I looked forward to my weekly turn in the library when I could actually make it. Because with my newfound retirement, I actually played a lot of tennis. Sometimes I was coming in here hot with my tennis clothes on. They never gave me dirty looks. They were always happy to see me. And I self-punished by driving the nonfiction cart around, which is really hard to do. You have to not only alphabetize, you have to also do the numbers. It's really hard. But anyway, in addition to the Batman and Robin team, we also welcome Wonder Woman, Miss Marlene. Where's Marlene? Wonder Woman?
Didn't wear my outfit.
She's the amazing, super design thinking heroine of all our children and me. I had a blast making my little dog on Parents' Night.
Oh, good.
So, without further ado, we're going to turn it over to Mr. McKnight and then to our Superhero Justice League team to do our talk for the day. You probably don't need that.
I'm what stands between you and the Justice League. Indeed. Well, I just want to say, welcome to each and every one of you. I hope that you have had a joyous and restorative Thanksgiving holiday. I know for me, we really enjoyed that time. We went away to the Dominican Republic this year, did something a little bit different, went to the warmer weather. My son was there, but we sent him to the kids club as often as possible. So we made a trip into a vacation in that way. As I was sort of relaxing and just really reflecting on the many things for which I'm thankful, I definitely want to start off by saying how thankful I am for your partnership. I know that we are few in number this morning, but we've always been a quality over quantity type school. And so no worries there. We're just happy to see you, and we're so appreciative for all you do for our community. When I think about Jim's devotion about passion, play, and projects and purpose, I think there's no greater manifestation of that than this very space that we sit in here today. I think back to about a year ago when I approached Debbie, Ron, and Marlene, and we talked about ways in which we could transform this space. And I was so proud and impressed with the way that they came back to me. They didn't talk about furniture. They didn't talk about color scheme. They talked about people. They talked about community. What are the ways that we could transform this space in order to really maximize the learning that happens here, not just for students, but for teachers? How can we blend the different experiences so that we can begin to think about library spaces in different ways? So some ways, this library is still going to be the same. It's going to be a place where research happens. It's going to be a place where wonderful reading happens. But it's also going to be a place where wonderful media is created, where collaboration happens, where one day it's going to look one way and then the next day it's going to look totally different. And because of the furniture choices that the teachers have made, that flexibility can happen from day to day, sometimes within a moment, within a day's notice, to sort of flip it to make sure that that learning can happen in a very powerful way. Ron, Debbie, and Marlene have done some incredible work But I'd be remiss if I didn't say thank you to the generosity of the Beck Foundation, who gives a lot of the grants for these opportunities to be able to happen. So really fortunate to be able to have that opportunity and also work with Lauren Flores, Emily Henry, and her team and Office of Institutional Advancement to make sure that we can really bring these ideas to fruition. I really want Debbie, Ron, and Marlene to come and talk about some of what they have planned on the horizon for the future and some of what has already happened in the last few days. You've only been back to school again. But we've been here all Thanksgiving, just working really hard. Some of that is true to bring this to fruition so that we can really hit the ground running, and just really, really thankful for all of their sweat, a little bit of blood and tears mixed into that also. But they are truly superheroes in my book, and I'm just really excited to see where they're going to take this space to the next level. So without further ado, let's introduce the super team.
I don't know how much we need to say now. I wouldn't get one to fit.
Halloween next year.
Next year.
I'd just like to say first that I'm thankful, and I hope you'll spread the word for everyone's patience, because we had hoped this would be a quick turnaround, but if anyone's ever redone a kitchen or anything in your house, you know things don't always go as planned. So it took a little bit longer. The kids have been scratching at the doors and the windows to get in, and yesterday we had classes back here, full force, letting kids check out, letting parents come in, and it was a very happy, relaxing moment for all of us. So thank you for your patience. Please let everyone else know that.
Sure. What Whit said, the school has been very generous in professional development for us. And because of that, Debbie and I get to visit a lot of different schools in the nation, as well as go to library conferences. And basically through those visits and going through all the meetings and seminars and workshops, we discovered that our priorities weren't being met by the space we were in. In fact, well, I think the designers call our space it was a dull brown library. And we were letting the materials dictate the space. And that's not what we're here for. We're here for your children and for the faculty. We wanted to build collaboration. We wanted to make this a really dynamic space. And it's a nice library. It was a great, but as you probably know, even going through admissions, we're the largest elementary school library in the country in physical space. And we weren't making a great use of the space. And the British design firm that did the new layout, they called it was a tombstone layout. Because it's just kind of like rows with small, narrow spaces. And that's not at all ideal, well, actually for anybody, but certainly not elementary students. So our goal was really to transform the space for your children. And we were lucky enough to be approached to write a grant, and as Whit explained, we did. And through writing the grant, we were focused actually on the Tinker space, which is in the back here now. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit. But really, by going through the process, we realized that the whole library needed to change. And that's what we did with the new design.
And we've created, and it's hard to tell right now because everything's spread out, but if you came in like yesterday afternoon, all of these shelves easily move in and create a separate little classroom space here. I hope after the meeting you'll wander around in the back. We have a nice little sitting area that creates another little collaboration space. We've developed all these little cushy, fun little pedals to sit on, which the kids love, where we can gather around and have just several different small collaboration areas within the library at one time, not distracting to each other, and the kids just love it. The pod is the favorite thing. If we could have a whole class in the pod, it would be very popular. Yes.
What we did is we've created zones, what the designers call like a neighborhood. If you look at the old library, this entire half, all of this space was just taken up with traditional wood shelving. And it was totally inflexible. I mean, it weighed a ton. It wasn't going anywhere. It might as well have been made of cement brick. And that really limited what we could offer in this space. And what our school really needs was more small group collaborative space. That was not giving it to us. So what we've done in the library, that's now gone, and we've got pretty much 7 different zones within the library. And when you come in the front door, you'll see there's one up there for small groups, which is a great little kind of sofa seating for you could have up to a whole class with their iPads. There's even ledges built on the back of the big curved sofa for the kids to put their iPads on. The fiction, which is this big oval egg shape, we took the shelving and we broke it down into half spaces, into 3 instead of 6. And in the center are flexible shelves on wheels. That just goes to the side, and we can fit an entire grade level in the center of the fiction collection. So that's our second zone. We've got the tinker space. We have, this is usually a classroom space with tables and the green chairs. And we still have the space in front of the window seating, the space over in this corner, and the story well. So what we had basically, we had 3 distinct zones or neighborhoods. We now have 7. And the nice part is, everything's flexible. And that when it was designed purposely, even having the desk move back against the wall, we can fit almost, at least 4 entire grade levels right into this space. Because it's all on wheels, it's all mobile.
And then one of the most exciting parts is the tinker space, which we will let Marlene take over and explain to you, but we're all going to have fun in there, and I invite you to visit it because it's going to change on a very often basis what's going to be going on there.
Yes, it'll be a lot of fun, and it won't always be that. So tinkering, by the way, is when it's a type of making, but you get interesting materials and you pursue them in a way that is interesting to you. So there's not a finite, decided product that you're going to wind up with at the end. So you play with the materials, and then you change it if you feel like it. If you love it, then you make a new one. So the thing you're going to make today, your project, we have these wind tubes, and you will explore how you might make things fly in the wind tunnel, or maybe bounce in the wind tunnel, or spin, or whatever looks interesting to you. So you have some materials on the table. These are 2 that I just put together to see what they'll do, and if I like it, I can add on, or I can keep it and make another one. If it doesn't do what I want, then I take it apart or throw pieces away. So it should be a very playful, but rigorous activity, because you will feel your mind work in interesting ways. And when you watch kids do this, they talk about their thinking. They're like, oh, I think it's too heavy over here, or I need to add another piece, and then they try it. So your ticket out of here is that you need to make something and try it. You can't leave until you try something. Feel free to cut up the materials too. Nothing is precious, even the feathers, which the kids often want to take with them.
So, I'm sorry, will they do this during library time, or will they do this?
All different times.
They have, all of our pre-firsters have done this in design thinking, so they can come in and they know exactly what to do. The great thing about tinkering activities, especially in the setting, is they don't need a lot of instruction. The facilitator's role is, if they get stuck, you can give them some suggestions, and if they're out of ideas, you can give them some more possibilities. But it should be pretty much self-directed exploration.
What's the purpose of having it in the library?
Accessibility would be one of the main purposes. Right now in our design thinking labs, those classes are scheduled, but by having it here, someone could come in and decide, this only takes, you can spend 5 minutes, you can spend an hour. So it's an opportunity to explore the materials that are out on a more impromptu basis would be one of
And the library is staffed all the time. Debbie and I are here, as well as a devoted group of parent volunteers. So there's always adults in here. So our schedule is flexible, that we're open before school from 7:30 to 10 of 8. We're open till 4 o'clock in the afternoons. We're here at recess times, and you know there's a lot of recess times before lunches. We're always here for that. Whereas Sue and Marlene, they have a pretty solid classroom schedule.
We also wanted to tie the idea of the tinkering or the design thinking into the research piece, because it's a natural leap if you are interested in something to then do further research, and obviously we are the research hub, so we wanted to tie that together to take them to the next step of where their mind is going with what they have discovered.
And there's almost always an artistic piece, a self-expression piece to what we have set up. For example, you might come in, there could be sewing machines there, but you're not sewing a garment necessarily. You may be sewing just something that you put stuff, some fiberfill in and say, it's my new thing, whatever it is.
So it's kind of an open studio.
Yes, it's an open studio. That's a good way.
That's a great way to say it.
Yeah. And if a teacher is doing something that she wants to tie in with her curriculum, we will work to help her to do that from the tinkering side, the research side, whatever needs she might
And
have.
then the kids would theoretically do this during library, when do
Teachers
they-
might bring
I'm
their-
sure every grade is different.
And this will be kind of a learning curve. We're going to have to see exactly how it fits in well, but it will be here. It will be here for free time. It'll be here for recess, before and after school. If a teacher wants to come in and utilize it during her classroom time, we can accommodate that as well, so.
And the students are used to that flexibility with the library, that they can come anytime.
Right. We have open times in our design thinking labs, but teachers don't sign up for that very much. I think they think of it as someone's classroom, whereas they're used to thinking of this as go in and see what
School's
the
classroom.
possibilities.
It's right.
Right.
It's theirs. They
Right.
don't. There's no ownership here of the space. It's theirs as much as ours.
And this will evolve. We'll see what happens. We'll make changes if we think they would be good.
The furniture's here for the Tinker Space. We're excited. We have a group, is it 13 this year, fifth graders, of the library cats who work with us, and these fifth graders are helping us now develop all the supplies and the kits and things to stock the cabinets with for the exploration. So we're excited that that's coming from them. And I'd almost want to say a little plug even for first grade as far as tinkering, that the book, you've heard maybe kids talk about the book house before. Well, when I came 14 years ago, the book house, it really was just a display piece. And I don't know if we have a picture of it or not, but it was a flat piece with just book displays on either side. And I was doing a story with Mrs. Kadava and Mrs. Schlafly's first grade class, and we were talking about building tree houses and clubhouses and forts and things as far as the story. And at the end, we were talking about the library and the progress. And the first grade, they said, what would be cool, Mr. Martin? If the book house was really a house. If we could go into it and lay in it and read in it. And from that conversation, my wife and I came in on a Saturday using their ideas and rebuilt the book house. And we did turn it into a house that they can lay in and explore. And I thought it was just going to be fun for pre-first and first. Well, fourth and fifth grade's in there too, laying and relaxing just as well. But that kind of whimsy and play, had an effect really on even part of the redesign.
Well, shall we play?
You have to pledge. You have to try.
I expected the feather to be really good.
Out of the ruins and rubble, out of the smoke, out of a night of struggle, can we see a ray of hope? One pale thin red, reaching for the day. We can bear a beautiful city, yes we can. Yes, we can bear a beautiful city, not a city of angels. We can build a city of men. We may not reach the end, but we can start slowly, rudimentally, brick by brick, heart by heart. Now, maybe now, we start learning how. We can bear a beautiful city. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. We can bear a beautiful city, not a city of angels. We can build a city of men. When your trust is overshadowed, shattered. When your faith is overkill, you can give up bitter and battered, or you can slowly start to build a beautiful city. Yes, we can.